Hey man, good to see you. I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. I'm great.
Amazing. Thanks for the time today. Congrats on everything. Congrats on the album and all the success, obviously, and an amazing looking studio. Where are you at right now?
I'm actually at my house. So we
Yeah,
got a studio here in my basement and this is where I like to hang out.
it's a good balance, right? Like when you have the workflow, but it's also like a fun place to hang out. Do you have a ping pong table anywhere near? I feel like that's necessary.
I do feel like that is necessary and I don't. I put a boxing ring right outside of here, so that kind of took up most of the space. Yeah, I don't know. In Ohio we have basements, which I realize, I grew up here, but like I realized that uh that's kind of a rare thing for
Yeah.
basements to happen. um and we didn't really know what to do with the space, so it was just like, all right, well, let's put a like drum studio down here, and then I don't know, we talked about ping pong table or like pool table or something maybe, but I feel like I would get more use out of a boxing ring, so that's what I got outside of this room.
And have you gotten use out
Yeah,
of a you have? That's
yeah.
so too, by the way. Just like let's just put a boxing ring there.
Yeah. Well, I like to train. There's a couple people in town that will come over and just like catch mitts, and I'll do like a little bit of like body sparring, but I'm not trying to go crazy. But it's fun. I think, like, especially if we take like a decent amount of time off tour, I need to know that I can go back and play a show at the same intensity that I always have. And boxing's been a great way to kind of like make sure that I can continue to do that. So, and the drums. I mean, I'll sit at my house and play drums, but it's not the same as like playing like a 2 hour show. So boxing's been great for that.
Probably saving some money too, just being like security for your own like shows and performing, drumming. You do everything, you know?
I'm our own security. And so yeah, we do save some money there.
Amazing. Well, dude, I'm so excited to talk about Clancy for a little bit. And again, congrats on such a fun album and adding on to this story for some maybe fans that haven't like learned or aware of the story. What would your like synopsis be of just the story you're telling?
Man, well, I guess it kind of dates back, really to really a long time. And I think like when the story, I think for me started kind of like when Tyler and I met and became friends. And we had like the first time we ever hung out, we just had like a really long conversation about life and music and thoughts, feelings, vulnerabilities, insecurities. And, I think that there is a lot of who we are as people and a lot of who we are as a band that kind of like stems from our own personal insecurities about ourselves or about our music or how we present ourselves to the world. And I think at the core, you know, it's that plays a big part of kind of the entire story. But yeah, I don't. There's a lot to it. There are some characters, and I think throughout this story, we've kind of like learned a lot about the antagonists, and throughout this album, it's kind of a lot more about the protagonist named Clancy, who's kind of been figuring out who he is and what he's capable of throughout this whole journey. And it's been cool to for this thing to unfold and for him to kind of discover what he's capable of. Um, and metaphorically, I think like what we're all capable of in terms of uh, our brains and all the inner struggles that we all have on a daily basis.
Totally. And what's going through your brain for like the release of something like this? Is it the same feeling for these albums? Is it different for each one? Like what's going through your body before you put out Clancy?
it's always such a nerve-wracking thing, but exciting at the same time. I mean, some of these songs we've been working on for just so long, and they start to feel like they've already been in the world for, for a decent amount of time, when in reality nobody's heard them. And so then we kind of like release it, and then all of a sudden it's kind of this thing again, the insecurity where I'm always just like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe people don't like it, but maybe people don't even have the chance to like it or not like it because they might have just tuned out already and not want to listen. So there's a lot of thoughts that happen and go through, I think, both of our minds, when we're releasing an album. And but one of them definitely is excitement, and I feel really proud of this album. And I think like the one of the most important things to me is that I listened through the album and I love it. Like these are some of my favorite songs that we've written and recorded, and so I'm excited to share them with people, with the world.
Yeah. It's amazing. And Clancy's like a bit of a hybrid album, it feels like. What was some sounds or certain things that you maybe experimented on this new project, or maybe, how this next era kind of sounds?
Well, I think we learn as we go, in terms of what it is that we are wanting, or maybe what are we missing. And I think some of that is learning based off of putting out an album and maybe hearing some feedback. But I think a lot of the learning process happens on the road.
Mm.
And so when we're playing a show, it's I'm telling you, every night after every show, it's kind of troubleshooting mode. How did that go? How did that feel? Did this song work? Did it go over well? Or the way that we thought it would? If not, what would we need in that position where that song was? And I think a lot of times that dictates the type of songs or record we write next. And for this one, it felt like we wanted more kind of alternative and rock, some heavier sounds. And so there are some songs on this record that are a little bit more aggressive, I would say, in terms of drums, some of the bass tones that Tyler got. Um, so yeah, I think, but you're right. I mean, it's diverse at the same time. So you got like a song like Routines in the Night up next to a song like Navigating,
Mhm.
which are like two of my favorites on the album, but they're completely different sonically. Um, so as much as we're kind of like, oh well, we should write this type of song or this genre, other things still come up that will become inspiring, and then we'll just kind of we'll go from there.
Yeah. And how important in like your opinion is the opening track or like the opening song like overcompensate and the choice to make it that song?
I think that it wasn't really necessarily. Well, we've always taken the opening slot of an album really seriously, because historically we've kind of just looked at it again through the lens of a live show, where okay, well, it would make sense to start a show with this song, which would be number one on the album. And it's kind of, with storytelling, it's how do we want to begin this story? What's the tone? And so yeah, I don't know. I think also learning that, as we kind of changed it up on the last album, Scaled and Icy, uh, the opening song was a little bit more tame, and I think then people then just kind of felt like the whole album was a tamer album, which I would say in some ways it was, but in some ways it wasn't. Um, so this one, yeah, I think we kind of wanted to pick things back up with like a little bit more up tempo feel. musically. And then it also kind of just, I don't know, this song Overcompensate shaped up and turned out to be one that was just undeniable opener for the album. And I think we both listened to it and we're kind of like, yeah, this is definitely the first song in the album. And everyone we showed from there said the same thing. So yeah, it feels like in some ways kind of picks up, and where Trench left off. Um, and I would say musically and thematically as well. So it just felt right.
Love it. One of my favorite lyrics from the whole album is, of course, sipping on Capri Sun like it's Dom Perignon. Capri Sun's so nostalgic for us. Like, so is obviously like vinyl now and maybe manual cars or like old
Yeah.
camera. What do you think from our time will be that in the future for people? Like, what will we look back like, oh, what a classic. Like, they did it right back in the 90s.
Oh man, yeah, that's a good question. I like somebody recently said that we're gonna look back and everyone wearing Apple Watch is gonna be like a very strong indicator of a certain point in time. And that's definitely true. Not necessarily we did it right. I mean, yeah, I think you're right. It's so funny now looking back at like photos or videos and just be like, you grew up in the 90s, when you love this thing or whatever. Capri Sun is definitely one of those things.
I feel like
It's hard to
MySpace
tell.
already.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. MySpace, Facebook, which is, sort of still around, or well, is still around. Um, yeah, I don't know. Things are kind of like constantly adapting and changing, and I think even in my lifetime, going from putting in a cassette tape in a radio and recording a mixtape off of the radio was that's like how I curated my own music when I was like an early teenager. And then it shifted over to iPod MP3s, and now those aren't even really a thing anymore because it's just streaming. Um, so I don't know. I think things have advanced in a really good way. Nostalgia is a strong thing.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know what it's going to be in 10 years, 15 years, but I'm excited. I like looking back and feeling a certain way about, how I was raised or certain points of time in life.
Yeah. Someone's gonna find their iPod back in the like in 20 years and be scrolling and find like, early on 21 Pilots album and just be like, oh my God, like this is, oh, the
Yeah.
good old days. But
Yeah.
it's so fun. Well, I can't wait to see you guys out on the road. I know the tour is going to be so special, and I can't wait to see what you guys have planned. Congrats on, directing the music video and filming a music video for every single song. It's so impressive, and can't wait to see as that keeps rolling out. But it's so cool to hear behind the scenes and just hear from you a little bit more about how the whole process was. So thank you for the time, and so nice to meet you via Zoom, and can't wait to see you on the road.
Yeah. Likewise, man. Thank you. Thanks for chatting. And yeah, listen to Clancy. And you're right. Yeah, there's a video for every song. There's one more coming. We're kind of finishing that up, but um, yeah. But for every other song, there's a video.
Was it like shocking at how much like it was to make a video for every single song? Was like, were you more surprised at like the process of like, oh my God, like kind of regret this or not regret, but like, man, it's a ton of work.
I think yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, and we've done enough now to know how much time each one takes and how much effort. Um, but I think that but yeah, maybe the areas where I felt like we were starting to regret it a little bit was all the videos that we shot outside,
Mm,
in January and February in Ohio, where it's just like, 8 or 9 degrees one day, 15 degrees the next, and it's raining. Um, so yeah, those moments are definitely, but those are the ones that I look back and I remember
yeah.
those days, and I guess fondly at this point because it just, they were, you're creating memories and
Yeah.
and also capturing them. So we have them forever now.
Right. It's like a little time capsule, a little snapshot of what you were doing back in the day. Only
Yeah.
Hawaii music videos from now on. Like, pick a nice destination. But
Yeah, that feels a little too easy.
sure it does. Thanks again, Josh. I gotta go, but thank you so much for the time, and we'll see
Okay.
you soon.
Yeah, thank you.